Germany, they call this their welcome culture. More than 1 million asylum seekers have come in the past year. The number is swelling when German Chancellor Angela Merkel declared the borders open to Syrians. But this is one of the last migrant trains to arrive here in Cologne. A panicky Europe is now locking down. The migrant route into Germany effectively closed.
300 people here just off a train from Passau on the southern German border. They're just going in here to this reception centre. They'll get food, water, medical care if they need it. And most importantly for people who've left family behind, there's free Wi-Fi in there if they want to reach out to those left back home.
So, 45 Schuhe. Männer 45. Ja, Socken, Unterwäsche, wenn du hast. Ein riesen Pullover auch.
Sagen wir alles weiter. Machen wir. Bist du fertig oder soll ich dir noch was?
Das ist okay, denke ich.
Okay.
Genau, also angefangen hat hier alles in der Kleiderkammer auf dem Schotterparkplatz, alles sehr provisorisch. Es waren nur 3 große Wäscheberge in diesem Kleiderzelt und dann haben wir ehrenamtlichen Helfer angefangen, das alles so aufzubauen.
Das heißt,
ich bin seit dem 21.09. dabei. Das ist der Tag, an dem die Nacht, in der der erste Zug kam. Und mache das alles ehrenamtlich.
Und wie finden Sie die Zeit? Sind Sie wirklich bei jedem Zug dabei?
Ja, im Prinzip war ich bisher bei jedem Zug dabei.
It's the final leg of a long, costly and challenging journey. But the sense of jubilation may be short-lived. The reality is that many may not qualify for asylum, considered economic migrants rather than genuine refugees.
Why have you come to Germany?
There are lots of reasons why I came here, because Germany is kind of, luxurious, and my field of study is industrial management. I was a PhD student in my country, and I wanted to pursue my education in the field of production management. And for Iranian people, unfortunately, we needed to pass off ourselves as Iraqi or Afghans, because the border is really, really close for Iranian people, because they say that Iranian people are not living in war. There was no alternative for people like me.
Wie lang kann das weitergehen, diese Willkommenskultur?
Ich hoffe ganz lange. Ich hoffe so lange, wie die Menschen uns brauchen. Die Hilfe wird sich irgendwann wandeln. Hier machen wir natürlich nur die Notversorgung. Aber irgendwann kommt für uns die Situation, dass die Menschen integriert werden müssen. Und dann ist es auch eine Hilfe, aber auf eine andere Art und Weise.
But what happened in Cologne on New Year's Eve would radically alter German attitudes to refugees and threaten to undermine their welcome culture.
We just got out of the station with all my friends, and the whole place in front of the cathedral was just filled with people. And after some moments, we just realized it was just men.
Die haben Sprachen gesprochen, die wir nennen die Französisch und sowas. Also es waren jetzt nicht irgendwie Leute, wo man jetzt wusste, ja, die leben schon lange hier in Deutschland. Und halt ziemlich alles durcheinander. Ja, und halt, wir sind halt dann halt auch wirklich gelaufen. Ja, und dann war es halt so, dass mich jemand gezogen hat am Mantel. Ich hatte einen ganz langen Mantel, mich jemand gezogen hat, mir hinten am Po gepackt hat. Und dann aber auch so ja, nicht so gepackt, sondern so wirklich also zugepackt.
Hundreds of German women were surrounded, sexually assaulted and robbed by a mob of drunk foreign men. 2 women were reportedly raped.
Around us there were, I don't know, a group of 20 or 30 men that just surrounded us. They were pushing and pulling at our clothes, and then just men got on the left side, on the right side. They touched us everywhere they could, between the legs and our breasts. But they really tried hard. They tried to open our clothes and so on.
Also da waren halt Beleidigungen, das habe ich halt auch von anderen gehört, zum Beispiel Fiki Fiki und Hure und Nutte.
They were all really tall, black hair, always black beard, so North African people, I think it could also be Syrians, so refugees, but I think for us, the Germans, they all look the same.
With the festivities barely over, Cologne police put out a press statement that would soon come back to haunt them.
That communication afterwards by Cologne police was just a complete and utter failure because at first they pretended that nothing had happened, although they must have known from very, very early point onwards that things had gone completely out of hand.
The press release issued the morning after declared that the celebrations had passed off peacefully. Days later, the chief of police lost his job. Cologne's new top cop left to shoulder the blame.
Mir persönlich noch nicht ganz klar, wie wir das so zu bewerten haben. Dass diese Presseerklärung unglücklich war, daran besteht überhaupt kein Zweifel. Es lagen wahrscheinlich der Pressestelle nicht die Informationen vor zu dem Zeitpunkt, die erforderlich gewesen wären. Das ist ein Fehler, dazu stehe ich.
Was there a culture of silence around crimes like this committed by people with a migrant background?
Yes, you may call it a culture of silence. It's because of German history, because of the atrocities Germany has caused to other people, because of the racism in the last century that caused World War II and the Holocaust. It is an extremely touchy subject in Germany to talk about crime rates amongst foreigners or amongst people with migration backgrounds.
It took 2 days for the police to publicly acknowledge the scale of what had happened. Over the following days and weeks, more than 1,100 complaints were lodged for crimes including theft and sexual assault. Many of the victims young women. 125 men are now under investigation. The majority of suspects asylum seekers and illegal immigrants. From Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. 9 are from Syria.
Also wir haben den Eindruck, der ist noch nicht ganz abgesichert, aber es spricht vieles dafür, dass es sich in einem großen Umfang um junge Männer handelt, die noch nicht lange in Deutschland waren. Wir haben Anhaltspunkte dafür, dass es sich in einem ganzen Teil auch um Flüchtlinge handelte, die möglicherweise hier nicht wussten, wie man sich benimmt oder ihr eigenes Verhalten mitgebracht haben.
Lawyer Ingo Lindemann represents some of the men charged with theft on New Year's Eve.
Also junge Menschen, die keine Arbeitserlaubnis haben, keine Chance haben auf einen legalen Aufenthalt, im Grunde nur auf ihre Abschiebung warten, die allerdings blockiert ist, dadurch, dass ihre Heimatländer sie nicht zurücknehmen. Und die ziehen dann durch Europa und ein Teil von ihnen begeht Straftaten.
Diese Tätergruppe, die Sie beschreiben, kann man die als Flüchtlinge verstehen? Sind das Flüchtlinge?
Nein, das sind überhaupt gar keine Flüchtlinge. Die haben nichts, aber auch gar nichts mit den Flüchtlingen aus Kriegsgebieten zu tun, sondern schlichtweg der wirtschaftliche Druck in ihren Heimatländern drängt sie, weil sie auch dort keine Chance haben in das gelobte Europa.
Keeping tabs on the new arrivals is difficult. More than 130,000 of those who came last year have since disappeared. After terrorist attacks in Paris and Brussels, Europe is increasingly jittery about who it's letting in and just how porous its borders are. Yassine too is nervous. From Morocco, he's undocumented and is in Germany illegally. He's worried about getting caught. Yassine came to Germany with the wave of refugees a few months ago. He was there at the train station in Cologne on New Year's Eve.
يحب يدي طفلة يديها صحة يديها بدون هي ما تحب هو يديها يا آخر يروح يسرق مشاكل يحبوا مشاكل يكسروا في الجاج مشاكل مع هذا القوم هنا.
On camera, he won't admit to committing any crimes himself.
أنا في هذا الشيء حاب نروح علاش كي ما عندي معاهم حتى مشكلة وخايف لي يلصقوا فيا شي مشكلة. هادوك خواه وما بقاو في ألمانيا. ما بقاو في ألمانيا اللي في هولندا اللي في سويسرا اللي في النرويج اللي في فرنسا اللي في بلجيكا كلها وين راح علاش عندهم مشاكل مع الشرطة ما يبقاو هون ياخر سرقوا ياخر عمل مشكلة ما يبقاش هون.
And you know these people, or you just hear these stories that they're leaving?
كنت بتعرفهم بتعرف شخصيتهم شفتهم قبل هالمرة؟
لا ما نعرف شخصيتهم.
في ناس مثلا كانوا يعيشوا بالمنطقة اللي
كنت نعرف ناس ما بقاو يعيشوا. راحوا.
For Alice Schwarzer, a magazine publisher in Cologne who led the women's movement here in the 1970s, what happened on New Year's Eve threatens the values she fought for.
Für mich steht ganz klar eine islamistische Motivation dahinter. Keine islamische. Ich unterscheide zwischen dem Glauben und der politischen Strategie. Und diese Islamisten haben ja in ihren Ländern die Frauen völlig unterworfen und die sind rechtlos und so weiter. Und diese Methode der sexuellen Gewalt, um die Frauen aus dem öffentlichen Raum zu vertreiben, ist in ihren Ländern sehr verbreitet. Und ich glaube, dass jetzt erstmals nach den Kalaschnikows und den Sprenggürteln die Kriegswaffe sexuelle Gewalt mitten in Europa angekommen ist, auf dem Bahnhofplatz in Köln.
Coming from the left, her views seem counterintuitive. But Schwarzer says what happened on New Year's Eve in Cologne is the result of years of what she calls misguided tolerance.
Es ist immer den Fremden im Fremden belassen. Das sind die anderen, die sind so. Bei denen sind die Sitten so. Ja, da kommen die Frauen nicht aus dem Haus. Da dürfen die Töchter nicht schwimmen gehen. Da verschleiern sich eben die Frauen. Das ist bei denen so. Ja, aber nein.
Deutschland hat zu lange weggeguckt.
Alle haben weggeguckt. Die Parteien haben weggeguckt. Alle. Die Medien haben weggeguckt. Niemand wollte es wahrhaben. Und dabei hat es sich vor unseren Augen abgespielt. Ja? Ich bin übrigens überzeugt, wir haben zum ersten Mal in Deutschland seit 1945 eine erstarkende rechte Bewegung. Wir hatten immer eine kleine rechte Bewegung und auch Probleme, aber sehr viel kleiner als alle Nachbarländer. Weil Deutschland hat wirklich seine Lektion gelernt nach der Nazizeit. Und jetzt zum allerersten Mal haben wir einen starken Zulauf zu Rechtspopulisten.
The German anti-immigrant movement, known as Pegida, was flagging last year, but it's been revitalised by the flood of new arrivals.
We don't need the immigrants to force us to adopt their medieval traditions. We have seen how they treat women. No way. We don't need these horny refugees to ruin our culture, and we don't want their vandalism and terrorism here. Shame on you, Chancellor Merkel, and shame on all your collaborators.
Ja, weil wir einfach die Einwanderungspolitik von Frau Merkel nicht mittragen wollen und weil wir einfach an der Kultur unseres Landes festhalten wollen. Und umso mehr Einwanderer hier reinkommen, umso mehr wird sich auch die Kultur, die Gesellschaft ändern. Und das wollen wir nicht.
Widerstand! 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 Widerstand!
politics alongside the Chancellor making political headlines now. Frauke Petry, head of the Alternative for Germany party. The party's experiencing a huge surge in popularity, and that's partly because it's tapping into concerns among a growing number of Germans that their voice is not being heard on the refugee issue. Many people here telling us they think the Chancellor has simply got it wrong.
Cologne was an accident that waited to happen, but it was not a singular event, because at the same time we had similar incidents going on in the north, in the south of Germany, but they were not as well published as the Cologne events. They symbolize a development in Germany that clearly has to do with migration, that clearly has to do with failures in integration policies over the past 5 decades, I would say. So it's time to wake up. That's what I think Germans now do. And especially women, I think, now realize that it's not their classical representatives, such as the Greens, who take action, but it's us, the alternative.
Frauke Petry's party won between 13 and 24% of the vote in state elections here in March. She's adored by her own party, but also has many detractors. And wherever she goes, they turn up too.
And the people that are in there are right-wings, and they are so right-wing that some of us, me included, think they should be forbidden as a party. They are a party, and they work with a lot of frightening messages, and like any other fascist would do. And so we are here to tell them not all Germany is opposed against refugees. We welcome the refugees, and we try to make the best out of the situation. We're no fascists.
You were put on the front page of the Spiegel magazine.
Yeah.
The title was The Hate Preacher. What's your reaction to that? Are you a preacher of hate?
I'm neither a preacher, not one of hate. I think looking at this Spiegel cover makes clear how anxious the other parties are. I mean, so yes, in a way it hurts to see oneself presented as that, but I know it's not true, so I'm fairly relaxed about that, because I think that citizens start to notice what tendency there is in many German media when it comes to presenting the AfD.
And wir schaffen das is sort of we can make it. Yeah. And it's become a lot harder, of course.
Tanit Koch took over as editor of the Bild newspaper at the beginning of the year, the first woman to head Europe's biggest-selling daily.
New Year's Eve changed a lot among those people who felt they couldn't openly talk about certain challenges and problems and now feel they can. I think it's important that Germany finally opens up to a more liberal debating culture, because some subjects simply were tabooed. Macedonian-Greek border. Yeah. By not talking about certain inconvenient truths, such as lack of integration among some, we've allowed populist and more extreme parties and groups to gain followers and attraction, because they could always say, listen, we're the ones that tell you the truth, and all the others, the establishment, they lie to you.
The migrant influx is costing Germany billions of euros. But Chancellor Merkel is urging her countrymen to see it as less of a burden and more of an opportunity. That's been heard loud and clear by some in Cologne.
Also das ist jetzt hier ein Gebäude, das die Stadt Köln selber errichten ließ. Das ist ein Containergebäude für 70 Bewohner. Ja, das ist die ebenfalls privat betriebene Flüchtlingsunterkunft, das ehemalige Sporthotel, die Fleeburg. Hier wäre Platz für bis zu 96 Personen. Hier leben ausschließlich alleinreisende Männer drin.
Mario Ascani volunteers helping refugees. He also owns a refugee hostel in the middle-class suburb of Brück. For that, the government pays him up to €35 a day per refugee.
Bin in meinem Berufsleben bis jetzt, Gott sei Dank, sehr erfolgreich gewesen. Das ist der Grund, warum ich eine S-Klasse fahren kann. Und das kommt mit Sicherheit nicht, weil ich jetzt Flüchtlingsarbeit mache. For the government, it's so hard to find new buildings to give some rooms to refugees. And they ask us, can you please, before you have built complete, can you take some refugees? And we decide, okay, we do this. Living here.
At the moment, there are about 70 people staying at Mario's hostel. When renovations are finished, it will house up to 130.
You see, it's a complete kitchen. They can cook here by 6 people. And do their fresh meat because they have do their food themselves. Yeah, it's no company coming and give food for them. They get some little money, and they have to do their food themselves, like he does.
How much do they get each day?
Something about 320 euro per month.
Asylum seekers are given somewhere to live and money to live on, while their refugee applications are being processed. It's a gamble Germany hopes will one day pay off. With the lowest birth rate in the world, the country is in desperate need of workers.
Something about 1 million people coming to Germany, it's a lot of money what you have to pay for. And maybe it's also good for Germany or for Europe. Because the people coming are also human capital. You can build them, you can grow them up to, you can teach them to be really, really useful workers.
This is our boss. He is so wonderful.
I'm not the boss, I'm just give you the space.
Because it's our boss, because there's nothing you can say because they are doing the best for us.
I know many refugees coming from African countries like these 2 guys, and they are sometimes lazy. They are lazy. They need a woman or someone who tells them every day to do some things. But these 2 guys do it by themselves. They ask me, can you give me more cleaning material? We want to do this, we want to do that. So 7 o'clock, be there in the sport park.
Okay.
Okay?
Martins is Nigerian. He's been living in Germany for the past 8 months. But he's been in Europe much longer than that. Before he came here, he says, he was given asylum in Greece. But when the economy there crashed, he headed to Germany, believing he too was welcome.
Yeah, I've been working in Greece for good 7 years.
7?
Yeah. I work in Greece for good 7 years. I pay tax, I pay everything, but the government didn't recognize you. So that is why I decide, when I lost my job, that is why I decide to leave the country to Germany. So when I want to leave, because I don't have document to travel, so the United Nations and the German government, they said they should open the border.
Celebrating Carnival for centuries. It is a really big deal in this city. Probably, Duncan, the most important day of the year. The city closes down, essentially. But this year is a little bit different, and not just because bad weather almost saw it called off. There's a heightened security presence here because of the events of New Year's Eve. And ahead of Carnival, people have been handing out leaflets, some of them in Arabic, trying to explain this event to the many refugees who've come to the city over the past year. Dankeschön, one of the questions on those leaflets, do you have to drink to come to a carnival? The answer, no, but it might help.
I catch up again with Michelle and Nina, 2 of the victims of the assaults on New Year's Eve. They've come into the city for Carnival, but not without reservations.
Ja, schon. Also seit Silvester sind ja viele, ja, wie soll man das sagen, generell
die ganzen Leute, die jetzt auch in Köln wohnen, ne, gerade die Leute, die in Köln wohnen, ja, die Stimmung ist ja ein bisschen angespannt hier.
Maybe, I don't know, in 1 month or 2 months I will go more every weekend outside, but now it's better to stay at home. It's more trouble, so it's better, yeah.
Cologne, it was a wake-up call, I think, for many.
A wake-up call for the left in particular?
Yes.
Gibt es dann in Deutschland vor Silvester und nach Silvester?
Ich würde sagen, ja, ich würde eigentlich sagen, es gibt ein Westeuropa vor Silvester und nach Silvester. Dass die Islamisten diese sogenannte Willkommenskultur, die wir haben, ja, dass die stören wollten, weil das kann den Islamisten nicht passen. Der Westen muss kalt und der Feind sein. Er darf kein herzlicher Freund sein, ja, und das ist denen ja gelungen.
The end of Carnival in Cologne. 6 days of drinking, partying and dressing up. Before the bonfire is lit, the straw man is ritually blamed for the city's woes. The high student rents, trouble with the mayor, and the events of New Year's Eve.
Und wer ist das schuld, dass man Silvester großes Remi-Demi und Tamtam am Hauptbahnhof hatte? Das war der Nubbel. Lauter, noch einmal. 1, 2, 3.
And then the straw man goes up in flames, and with him the sins and troubles of the past days and weeks. Life in Cologne, according to tradition, returns to normal. Only this year, it won't be that easy.